It's the end of June and I really have to start this video here rather than in my usual place looking up at the hills. It's just fabulous at the moment, and this is where I come in the mornings to do my meditation. And when we first moved into this house, this was just a circle of gravel and the iron rose arbor, no plants on it, and the sundial just in the middle. And I really wanted to make it somewhere that was just a place of scent and colour. And it's taken a year to do it, but here we are. I asked for roses for my Christmas present, planted them over the winter, bare root, which is the best time to do them. And this is the first year that they flowered, so from here they will just get better and better. The previous year I'd sowed Sweet Williams from seed, so it cost me about £1 for a packet, and again just vast amounts of colour and scent. Absolutely wonderful. Here we have a beautiful little pink rose which will actually get much taller and more vigorous. It's called Gentle Hermione, and it comes from David Austin, and the scent is like a really rich rose scented hand cream, very creamy. And then next to it, if you look at it, just the little blue buds are coming from Nigella, or also known as Love in a Mist. Have beautiful blue flowers, and then very structurally beautiful seed pods, lots and lots of seeds inside. And when I was little, my granny grew this, and I used to love popping the seed pods and throwing them all over the garden, and she used to wonder why she got so many and blame the birds, but it was me. And here at the front of the bed, I thought this little creeping thyme had died over the winter because the ground was so wet, the water table came up to within a couple of inches of the surface. But it's flourishing now, and it's covered in little purple blossoms, and that will just spread and just fill in all the corners. And then next to it, on the other side of this paving slab, is a yellow scented, not yellow scented, it's yellow, it's a lemon scented thyme, and again it looked really awful over the winter and I almost took it out, so I'm so glad I just hung on. Behind the bench is the herb bed, and this great frothy mass of feverfew, little daisy heads, self-seeded, very bitter, very aromatic, used for treating headaches, I believe. And then behind you can see the French beans beginning to climb up the supports. The marjoram behind that is just huge, and I've cut so much off that already to dry. And then the purple of the sage flowers and self-seeded foxgloves sticking up through the centre of it all. And a yellow marjoram in the middle there. And up against the fence, comfrey that I planted last year. This makes a really good plant food. Soak it in water or just squash it down and take the juices. The lettuces are almost getting to the point where I can start picking them now. And behind them I still haven't released the kale, but if I don't do something with this soon it's going to explode out all by itself. And at the end, a very nice healthy looking sunflower plant. And another of my new roses, hasn't got any bloom on it yet, but this is quite a vigorous one that's going to cover the fence, called Paul's Lemon Pillar. This long bed has not gone as I wanted it this year. We had a couple of bereavements, March and April. Key time for planting out when I didn't get the seeds in. But self-seeded feverfew and foxgloves and phacelia are wonderful for the bees. They're all filling in the gaps here. If you can hear the bees, constant hum in the background. Peonies and honeysuckle peeking through the garlic. And this is part of my view when I'm washing up. Again, most of it was already there, and I was self-seeded, and these are self-seeded wild foxgloves, which, as my daughter points out, are taller than she is. And the honeysuckle is just coming into bloom behind. It's a beautiful thicket for the birds. They like to sit in there before they come across to the bird feeder. Empty at the moment, there's a job for later. And these are the Canterbury bells that were given to me by a colleague of my husband's last year. This is the first time they've bloomed. Up against the honeysuckle, makes a lovely background. I've pruned the gooseberries, so now you can see there are 3 main stems up against the fence, which makes it much easier to pick them without ripping my arms to shreds. And that's doing really well. It's got lots and lots of fruit on it. One of my big jobs last year was this gravel path, which was really overgrown and the gravel was far too high. I ended up digging it all out, replacing the gravel, and I've replanted it with things that actually look pretty there rather than the dandelions and fireweed that were beginning to take a hold. Yay, strawberries! This was quite a big job as well, clearing out the mess in the greenhouse, planting everything out. But the tomatoes are really doing nicely now, and I've got chilies at the back. And then up on the top, more chilies and basil. Waiting for the sunshine. As with the other kale bed, this is beginning to explode out. Needs a jolly good weed. That's something I like to do when I need my head clearing. Focuses the mind wonderfully. There's kale and rocket at this end. So we've had some radishes from in there as well. And then at the moment, the leeks are doing quite well, but they're mixed in with lots and lots of weeds and a row of dill at the front. Here are the chickens again. They've been in disgrace, actually. They started eating the soft feathers out of each other's backsides. So I don't know if you'll see it in this video, but the white one and the black one, there we go, beautiful. I've now got gentian violet coloured bums. And the feathers are beginning to grow back in again. Not sure, there's lots of reasons why they do this. It didn't seem to bother them at all. It just looks a bit unsightly. The purple and the red rhododendrons finish flowering now, just as this deep orange one's come into bloom. It's just been a lovely succession of colour over the last couple of weeks. And this is where a lot of that huge pile of woodchip went. A bit at a time over the last 15 months, and you can see in the background now the beech hedge is showing green. I've tidied up all the edges and it's really beginning to look quite nice. Here's a little bit of serendipity gardening. I mowed around this patch at the base of the apple tree and it's just blossomed into grass and clover. There's a little bit of herb robert in there as well. And it's just a little bit of wilderness, which is fabulous for the bees. A little plum tree on the right here is doing very well, and then on the left I've put in a white lilac. What I love to be able to do is, as I come home in lilac season, just lean over from the car and smell it before I go into the house. I can anticipate that now, even though it's too young. Maybe next year. I've replaced the dying box bushes in the planters at the front of the house this year with tumbling tom tomatoes and lobelia and pansies, which are just really beginning to get into their stride now. I've been clearing out the weeds from between the block paving and then realised that this isn't a weed, this is a creeping thyme. I don't know where that's self-seeded from, but I'm quite happy to have lots of that. The rhubarb seems to have got past the initial attack of whatever was eating it and is really taking off again. That's what happens in June, isn't it? Everything just suddenly explodes. I'm not going to eat any this year. Let it put all of the goodness down into the roots so it'll be strong for next year. Ha! Spot the difference. That huge pile of wood chip has taken me 15 months on and off to barrow a wheelbarrow a load away at a time, and it's finally finished. Yay! So now I've got to sweep the drive and get rid of all of these weeds. And then on the left you'll notice I've put up a cage around the josterberry, which has lots of fruit that's just beginning to turn. So hopefully that will protect it from the blackbirds, who had the whole lot last year. And then in the background, very nice, you can see all the bins, but next to them my old beehives. That's something to think about doing in the future. And next to the josterberry I've planted a Philadelphus. I didn't expect this much blossom this year. This blooms on the old wood, so these new shoots coming up will have lots of blossom next year. And there's the rose that I forgot to prune. I've just taken a little bit off the right hand side so we can get through the gate now. But it's lovely, especially against that background of the hills. And today I'll finish with a view from the back gate where I usually start. People from this garden, I think, for decades have been throwing their garden waste over the wall. Partly it's sort of built up a defence against the flooding. And one of the things that's come from this is this Rosa rugosa by the back gate, highly scented. And you can see the height of the rose bay willow herb. I've had to strim a path through so that we can get to the wood now. And there's the hill. If you found this video helpful, please do click on like below and subscribe to my channel. You might also like to hop across using the links to my Facebook or LinkedIn pages where you'll find much more content.